Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to BSing Sports, where we do a little BSing and we talk a whole lot of sports. Thank you. As I'm sure you guys noticed, we were off last week. We decided to take a holiday, Ryan's face, for Easter. Are you frozen? You're not frozen, are you? Maybe Ryan is. There he is. So anyway, I'm Bill. That's Ryan, my co-host, as always. So again, thanks for joining into BSing Sports. This week, we're going to give you a little bit of Eagles draft preview as the NFL draft is coming around, starting next Thursday night, and then we're going to touch on the Philadelphia Phillies. Yes, it's a Philadelphia-based show this evening. Deal with it. All right. So starting with the NFL or the Philadelphia Eagles NFL draft. Oh yeah, let me start with that. Ryan, happy birthday, brother!
Thank you. Big 2'6" today. Even though my body feels like it's 6'2", we're 2'6" today. Big old 26.
Yeah,
closer to 30 than I am 20 officially. So, God, what a life.
Yeah. So I won't lie to you. When I was looking over who I thought was the Eagles were going to be possibly drafting, obviously.
Let's get the big question out of here. Eagles made a trade, right? We had 3 first-round picks. Now we have 2. We have one. We have an extra one next year. Why?
You and I have discussed this several times on shows in the past. I think the biggest thing here is that those 3 guys that you draft in this year's draft class need contracts at the same time. That's going to be a big problem down the line if they're all extremely successful, which obviously you want when you draft first-round picks. The other side of that is next year's, especially running back draft class, is significantly stronger. So boosting your trade, getting more first-round trades in next year's draft is extremely important, in my opinion. So I think it was an A-plus move by Howie to drop back one spot. To move up one spot and give away a pick to move up to 18 rather than 19 and give away the 16 and gain a first-round pick next year, especially considering that the New Orleans Saints are not predicted to be a stout team and win a whole lot of games. So you're talking possibly an early first-round pick next year. Could be huge.
So that being said, you didn't say anything that I was going to lean towards, so that's perfect. So this trade was not made, in your opinion, because if Jalen Hurts falls flat on his face and shows no improvement next year, the Eagles are not going to use that potential top 5 pick they got from the Saints to chase C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young.
I think it very well could lead to that. However, I don't anticipate Jalen Hurts falling on his face the way others are. I know I've been very negative on Jalen Hurts. I just don't see him taking a step back. And if he doesn't take a step back and takes a small step forward, he's the quarterback of next year too, unless C.J. Stroud falls to them wherever they're at.
I think that was an interesting, take on it that I read online, and it didn't dawn on me initially at first, but when you put 2 and 2 together, it makes a lot of sense. If Jalen Hurts does show no improvement and, with 2 first-round picks, I'm assuming it will be either in the trenches or on defense. We'll get into that in a second. And you get improvement around him. Devontae Smith's going to be in his next year. Miles Sanders will come back healthy. You bring that whole running group back healthy. Number 1 rushing offense. Was that a hint at something?
No. I was just showing a football.
Actually, I have a theory on that. So, if they bring the same team back and they're stuck in the same spot, or they even improve on defense, and Timmy, you're not getting a better trade offer. And they improve on defense, they bring the same offense back, and Jalen Hurts does nothing with it. It's very intriguing that if the Saints fall flat on their faces, most people are predicting them to, that C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young would both, potentially be available in the top 5.
Yeah, that's exactly true, and it's an interesting take. So let me ask you this: do you think Jalen Hurts takes a step back or stays exactly the same?
I think staying the same is probably more realistic, and I also think that's kind of what he does. I'm concerned. Jalen Hurts proved me wrong in the fact that he doesn't suck. That's, he showed flashes of being good, which, I'm okay with. However, in this next year, in his 3rd year, I would hope that they don't be flashes of good. I hope that they're consistently good. And I don't think that he can give consistently good, to be honest with you. Now, breaking it down even further, next year specifically, there's going to be quite a few teams that are going to be looking for a quarterback. So Jalen Hurts wouldn't be unsellable if he didn't take a step forward.
Yeah, I believe
I was listening off. I was in the shower before this. I got at least half a dozen teams. The Buccaneers being the first one that comes to mind because Tom Brady has no contract past 2022. I don't know how they feel about Kyle Trask because they were definitely hesitant to name him the starter even after he just sat behind the GOAT for a year. There's quite a few other teams that could be on that list too. The Colts will be looking for a quarterback. The Falcons, the Steelers, the Commanders, the Titans, the Vikings could be looking for quarterbacks. So there's options to play with this move. And I feel like that this potentially could have been the alley because if you even get the number 5 overall pick and you combine that with another first round pick that year to move up to 1 or 2 overall and secure a guy like Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, that's huge, especially with, I'm assuming the person that you're going to get into, if we draft him, that makes things very interesting because him and CJ Stroud happen to have played together.
I actually don't have them taking offense in the first 3 rounds, so I doubt.
In the 3 rounds?
First 3 rounds, no offense. Yeah.
Okay, that's a little bit different.
Yeah. I know. But yeah, I mean that's a good take. I like that take. However, what Jalen Hurts showed last year was that given time and opportunity and a good game plan, running the ball, utilizing his legs effectively, he can be better. In addition to the fact that he was forced to learn how to use his arm at the end of the season, which can only be good for a quarterback like Jalen Hurts. When you're a run-first quarterback and you're forced to utilize the arm and you can't use your legs because his ankle was injured, as we all know, at the end of last season, towards the end of the season, he wasn't lights out. I'm not saying he was like lighting the world on fire or anything like that. However, he was effective down the stretch throwing the football for the most part. And as a result, the Eagles made the playoffs. You can't deny that what he put together, in addition to a strong running attack with him, and I understand that, was successful. So again, I've been very critical of Jalen Hurts, very critical.
The Eagles partially made the playoffs because they played a soft schedule. Like let's be honest, they had a 4th place schedule. They're still not a very good division to play inside of. So they had some easy games, especially coming down the stretch. And
they are still NFL teams, and they still have to go out and win those games.
Sure, absolutely. But I mean, somebody's got to finish in last place. Somebody's got to be worse than the other team.
That's right. And for what it's worth, this past year, it wasn't the Eagles and it wasn't Jalen Hurts.
So if the Eagles finish 9-8 again with a first-round exit, then what?
Then I think you need to be shopping Jalen Hurts. However, the Eagles go 10-7 with a first-round exit. I still probably feel the same way.
Yeah, 10-7, 9-8. Like if we have a 1-game improvement, if we're not like competing in the playoff game or competing for the division, like the division, we were not competitive for the division last year.
We were not. And I agree with that. We have some catching up to do. But as of right this second, sitting here, April 21st, 2022, I believe Jalen Hurts will probably be the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles to start the year 2023.
Okay, that's fair.
Look, that could change in the next few days. We don't know anything.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a wild rumor going around that the Eagles are considering going to get Kyler Murray, and I disagree with that wholeheartedly. But go ahead.
Idiots. People who think that that's actually a possibility are idiots. But anyway.
Yeah. So obviously everything could change overnight. But where I sit right here, right now, Jalen Hurts plays well enough to earn himself a starting spot 2023.
Okay, that's fair. I don't have as much faith in it, but it's a possibility. Anyway, so back to what we were originally talking about, draft plan for the Eagles. They pick at 15 and 18 overall, and then I think it's 51st.
15, 18, 51.
83.
83, 101. That's 2 third-round picks, no 4th-round pick. Then they go again around 5 at 154, and that's all I've got my picks up to. I didn't think we had to go past round 5.
Yeah. Actually, let's address that rumor real quick. So Deebo Samuel has come out, his party has come out and said that he has requested a trade from the 49ers. And the 49ers, a couple hours after that report came out, shut that down and said that they have no interest in trading Deebo. Obviously that they're going to say that's, one way to jack the price up. Because if you go ahead and say, yeah, sure, we're open to trading Deebo, then people are just going to lowball you. I mean, it gives a tell that you're looking to get rid of him. However, the Eagles have been named one of the teams as like a potential, go-getter for Deebo Samuel. I don't necessarily disagree with it. I think Deebo's skill sets are, valuable, especially in the type of offense that they run with a mobile quarterback like Jalen Hurts. However, I can't see, there's no history from Howie Roseman in terms of paying top-tier wide receivers $25 million, especially ones that are also taking handoffs in the backfield. So I doubt it. However, he would be an interesting fit with this offense.
I agree with you that it'll be an interesting fit with this offense. I think Sirianni, towards the end of the season, started utilizing players to their ability rather than just their or to their skill set rather than just their position. Tried to find ways to get Miles Sanders in open space, realized that he wasn't really an inside the 20s running back, so they got him off the field, stuff like that, et cetera, et cetera. Couldn't find a way to make Rager look good, but I mean
well, I think Rager found ways to make himself look bad too. But that's neither here nor there.
That's true, which is why I'm sure you were surprised that I didn't take any offense in the first 3 rounds, specifically because of the lackluster wide receiver core that we have.
I'm not going to say no offense in the first round because I do have them hopefully picking an offensive player in the first round. However, I have them taking no skill position players.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into it. Again, the Eagles are drafting 115 this year, round 1, pick 15. I believe that the centerpiece for the best defense in college football is sitting there at 115, a defensive tackle. And I don't see why the Eagles would not jump on Jordan Davis, pick 15. I mean, you're talking a guy who's 6'6", 340 pounds, 4.7, 840-yard dash. At that size is absolutely ridiculous. He's a huge disruptor. And again, I just said he was the main centerpiece of the Georgia Bulldog defense, the national champion defense this past year, and that defense was the best in the nation.
Now, at first, on the surface, I agreed with you. My first thought was like, yeah, no way that they passed on Jordan Davis at 15. However, then I look back at the history, look back at, Howie's draft selection, because Howie does have he doesn't always make the obvious pick, as we all know, or even the best pick, as we all know. I don't think that they draft Jordan Davis as much as I would want them to. History shows that Howie has problems drafting 340-pound defensive tackles. Jordan Davis profiles more of a nose tackle in a 3-4 scenario, and the Eagles just don't run the 3-4 just because of his size. He's bigger. Milton Williams is pushing 320, and that's the biggest defensive tackle Howie Roseman's ever drafted. And he loves his trenches, so he has a history of draft. However, I think Jordan Davis' skill set, alongside Fletcher Cox, who's on a 1-year deal with Javon Hargrave, I don't think, and Milton Williams, I think that it's realistic that if Howie's going to deviate from a trend, that this is the one that he breaks. But I don't think that he does do that. However, in terms of trenches, and up the middle, Jason Kelce is probably playing his last season of football. I know we've said that for 2 or 3 seasons now, and he keeps continuing to play. However, Tyler Linderbaum from Iowa, or Linderbaum from Iowa, the center. Yeah. He's projected just outside the top 10. So if he falls to number 15, that's kind of a steal in my opinion. And they do have to draft Jason Kelce's replacement. Now, they tried that with Landon Dickerson. As it turns out, he's a hell of a left guard. So him and my ladder are just going to stay over there. They're not going to touch that. They're not going to move him to center. So go ahead and get Kelce's replacement this year, especially when you have 2 first-round picks in a draft that I think it'd be acceptable. You don't have to go out and get those skill position players right away. Tyler Linderbaum is probably who I would pick at number 15 if he's still there. Like I said, he is projected like cusp top 10. If he falls to number 15, though, that's who I would pick for the obvious reason of getting Jason Kelce's replacement while he's still here.
Yeah, I like that pick. I do. It also gives Linderbaum the opportunity to train under Jason Kelce, one of the best centers in a long, long time for an entire season, especially in this offense.
Now, let's talk about – I want to give 2 sleepers, 2 guys who I think they could also pick at 15 that I don't think will be there at 18. Now, I know that that's probably like, hey, there's only really a 2-pick difference between 15 and 18. You got 16, 17 in between. However, Garrett Wilson or Drake London, one of the wide receivers, I've seen them take. However, I don't think that they're going offensive skill position, especially wide receiver. I just don't think they throw the ball enough to justify getting another receiver. I think that's a waste of draft capital. I think that they recognize that, and I think that they're going to pick in the trenches. I think that they're going to stick to the offensive trenches and the defensive trenches, especially in the first couple of rounds. I also think that they're going to address the secondary. Kyle Hamilton is the other sleeper at 15. I would not be shocked if they went out and drafted Kyle Hamilton. They need another safety. You can pencil Anthony Harris as one of the starters, but they're going to need somebody to play center field back there. They're going to need a safety that can come up in the box. Kyle Hamilton can do both of those things. He's probably the highest graded prospect safety in a long time. So Kyle Hamilton's the other sleeper along with one of the wide receivers. However, I think one of the wide receivers is the least likely of the three options.
So you don't think?
I think Jordan Davis will be available at 18.
Okay, and if he is, that's a great pick. I have them taking Andrew Booth from Clemson.
Yeah.
A cornerback out of Clemson at 18.
Yeah. That's actually who I had them picking at 18 as well. I think that they shore up now, by some miracle of God, if Derek Stingley is there at 18, this is a no-brainer. But there's no way Stingley. I don't even think Stingley's there at 15. So, I think Andrew Booth is probably the good pick there. That's exactly who I had as well. Shoring up, get your backup center, get the secondary right for sure, because as well as he played last year, Steven Nelson is not some kind of long-term solution as cornerback number 2. And Darius Slay's getting a little older too. I think this will be his age 31 season. So he's not going to be reliable for much longer anymore anyway.
My sleeper pick there, and it's not really that much of a sleeper because he's ranked 18th in most brackets or most rankings, college rankings, is I've got Daxton Hill out of Michigan. Again, still secondary. Sticking secondary with my theme there as a sleeper. But Daxton Hill out of Michigan could probably go at 18 for the Eagles.
Now, Trent McDuffie, the cornerback from Washington, is also kind of interesting. However, I think that they do go some secondary or edge rusher here. The kid from Purdue, George Karlaftis or something like that. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I think it's Karlaftis or whatever. Yeah. Edge rusher from Purdue. The other edge rusher from Michigan, who's not Aiden Hutchinson, he was projected a first-round pick, I think, until he got hurt. That wouldn't surprise me if they went there. Look, Brandon Graham's getting old. He's coming off an Achilles tear.
So it's funny that you mentioned the Michigan fella. I got the Eagles
there's some history there. Brandon Graham being an edge rusher from Michigan. I think that they're going to – even the linebacker from Georgia, Dean, his first name escapes my mind, like some African-sounding name, like Nekobe or something like that. Now, it would blow my mind, especially with the signing of Kaiser White, if they actually went out and got a linebacker in the draft.
I don't think they're going that
like in the draft at all. I'm not even saying just in the first round. I'd be shocked if they went and got a linebacker. But I think some kind of edge rusher, preferably somebody in the secondary, though. I know for years and years and years they have built a scheme where getting pressure on the quarterback means that you can get away with having a bit softer of a secondary. However, after last year's kind of disaster in terms of not getting pressure on the quarterback, they're not going to, against the good teams or the bad teams, they weren't getting pressure on the quarterback. So I would not bank on that again. I would go out and shore up the secondary, particularly because the two that are here are getting a little older.
That's fair. So who do you have them taking at 51?
I don't want to say a receiver, but I do think that they draft a receiver in the second round. Okay. I think that that's very likely, in all honesty.
I have an actual name who I believe they go get, and they have a history of doing this.
Okay, who is it?
A few years ago, they drafted in the second round a guy who had torn his Achilles in his pro day by the name of Sidney Jones. He did not pan out in Philadelphia. However, he had a great year in Jacksonville, and now he's playing for Seattle, where he's probably poised to have some success up there. I think they do the same thing again. They take a shot on a guy who was supposed to be an early first-round pick, the edge rusher David Ojabo out of Michigan, tore his Achilles on pro day. And he was projected, I think, a top 10 or 11 pick originally. He gets injured.
That's who I was talking about in the pick 18. I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah. So I think he very well could fall to 51 because even scouts had him ranked as a not immediate playmaker, but in his second year he could. So especially if he's coming off of an Achilles injury like he is in his rookie season, he has an opportunity to learn the defense, learn what Gannon's doing, what Gannon wants him to do. I think he'd be a good fit for Philadelphia.
So let me ask you this, because I know some people are going to be curious. Do you believe the Eagles at any point draft a quarterback in this draft?
They shouldn't.
They shouldn't. However, they shouldn't have drafted Jalen Hurts, in most people's opinion.
They probably get one somewhere around round 5, their second round 5 pick. But I think it'll be more for practice squad spot. I disagree with people who think that they're going out to try and get somebody to replace Hurts in 2 or 3 years. That doesn't make any sense. You need to build around Jalen Hurts right now, and I think Roseman knows that. Give him an opportunity to be successful, and if he is not, then you move on, and the next guy can come in and still be successul. So I don't think.
I think that's, like I said, I think that they'll stave off drafting a quarterback this year, but at the same time, you never know.
Yeah,
as far as 51 goes, I could see Drake Jackson, the edge rusher from USC. He had pretty solid. I think he's coming out as a junior, so I think he had a pretty solid junior year in college. Now, this is a long shot because I've seen him go in the back end of the first round in some mocks. Sky Moore out of Central Michigan.
I'm looking for him now.
The wide receiver.
Bernard Raymond?
No, Western Michigan. Sky Moore. Yeah, I knew it was one of the Michigans, not regular Michigan. I knew it was either Central or Western. Has an absolute beast of a skill set. And if they do go out and get a personnel in the secondary like an Andrew Booth, if they go out and shore up a little bit of the aging offensive line, it wouldn't surprise me if in the second round they went after a skilled position player to replace said Jalen Reagor, who needs to be unloaded somewhere and fast. Well, he still has some value. Ultimately, we recognize that Jalen Reagor is just not going to succeed in Philadelphia, especially not as a wide receiver. And you spent way too much draft capital on him to designate him as just a punt returner. He needs to be moved on somewhere. Now, you're probably only going to get a fourth round pick for him, maybe, or maybe if somebody's desperate for skilled position players, a third. But at this point, you got to eat your losses. Jalen Reagor's just not going to succeed here. And I think Sky Moore would be the perfect addition because he's coming in knowing he doesn't even have to be the first or even the second target for Jalen Hurts because Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith will eat that up.
Yeah, I agree with this. I agree they could go Sky Moore there. I think they're going –
like I said, there are teams that need wide receivers. The Chiefs and Packers come to mind right off the grip. So
I think there's going to be a run of wide receivers early in the draft and then right at the beginning of the second round. Sitting at 51, we're kind of sort of in the middle of that round. Sky Moore may not fall that far, but if he is there, I'm totally okay to go get him over Ojabo. There'll be edge rushers next year's draft, and you've got 2 first-round picks, and he's not going to play for the most part this year, Ojabo, that is. So if Sky Moore is in there at 51, I'm totally cool with them going to get Sky Moore. I think Howie's going to be tentative to draft a wide receiver in this draft at all. Because of outside of Devontae Smith, his last 4 in a row have been busts. So I think
that's part of the reason why he would draft a wide receiver is because his last 4 have been busts.
Got to be careful with that, Howie. Don't go making the same old mistakes.
That's why I don't believe they spend first round capital on receiver. I think this draft is too valuable in other positions of need that they don't need to go out and get a wide receiver right away. It's pretty deep at receiver. Jahan Dotson's another one that I've seen maybe could fall into the middle of the second round. But there's a lot of deep talent at this receiver class. If Christian Watson falls to the second round, he has a Debo Samuel-esque skill set at a much cheaper cost. So he's a potential, although I'm sure nobody's going to like the North Dakota State draft pick, but
no, that's true. So I'm looking very specifically at somebody's mock draft. I'm not going to give you the guy's name. But he says that the Eagles decide to trade up to the 44th pick with the Browns. They give away the 51st pick, the 124th pick, and the 166th pick of all of this season's draft to get the 44th pick. If George Pickens is sitting there, do you make that trade?
Yes, actually, I think George Pickens was probably a top 3 wide receiver before he got hurt.
Yeah, I agree.
Actually, it's funny because one of the other top two receivers in that top three I mentioned was also hurt. However, he'll be long off the board before the Eagles get to him in the second round, and that's Jameson Williams. But
yeah, no, I agree. If George Pickens is available at 44 and the Browns are willing to give it up for the 51st and two other later picks, I'm 100% in. Go get George Pickens. I don't think
Pickens profiles to me like Allen Robinson.
Exactly.
He would complement Devontae Smith perfectly.
I don't think Pickens will be there.
No, at 44 he might be there because of that injury, but I don't think that he's there at 51.
Definitely not there at 51.
I would make that trade though in a heartbeat.
Yeah, if the Browns are willing to go for that.
I think they would. Browns are kind of hurting at receiver too.
That's true. Why would you give up the opportunity?
Imagine being Jarvis Landry right now, though. You just demand a release from the Browns, and then like 2 weeks later they trade for Deshaun Watson. I bet she's been blowing up their phone trying to come back.
Maybe.
But yeah, I mean that's a good theoretical trade that I would definitely make. And if Pickens, however, like I said, I don't think Pickens is there. I wouldn't chase Pickens in the first round, but I would definitely even entertain, moving up into the high 30s for him, 39, 38, somewhere in there. I think that he provides a very valuable skill set that this team definitely needs. And he would complement. He's like halfway between Goddard and Smith, so I think it'd be a perfect complement. However, it's as much as I said Sky Moore would fit this offense, it's hard for me to see them drafting another receiver at all simply for the fact that they just don't throw the ball enough. Now, do they not throw the ball enough because they have two targets, two legitimate threats, or that's just the way that they are, But I think if they are going to if they want Jalen Hurts to succeed in the future, they got to go out and get him another weapon at some point between rounds two and 3, probably.
Okay, I agree with that. So I forgot that they have. I'm sorry, I didn't forget anything. So moving on to their third round pick. I'm sorry. They pick at 83.
I think this is an easy pick. I think they go after another tight end. The Eagles have had two good tight ends for a long time. Went Brent Selleck, Zach Ertz, and then Dallas Goedert kind of took right over as soon as Brent Selleck left. And then they traded Zach Ertz halfway through the year. I think they go Isaiah Likey from Coastal Carolina.
Okay.
I think tight ends in the cards here in this draft. I think there's quite a few good tight ends. There's Jalen Windermeyer. And I don't think that they wait off another year as much as I would like them to. There's a baby Gronk waiting in the wings for the draft next year. However, I don't think that the Eagles wait another year to go get a guy like Michael Mayer. I think that they go ahead, pull the trigger now, and go ahead and get a tight end.
I have them at 83. Jeremy Ruckert out of Ohio State, tight end out of Ohio State. I also have him taking a tight end. In
There's some good tight ends in this class. There's going to be a lot of tight ends going in day 2, specifically in round 3. This is an interesting one, and that's just the way the business rolls. I mean, first off, the Miami Dolphins way oversold for Tyreek Hill. Oh my God. And that changed the landscape of everything. Now, I think the Chiefs did that because they can get a viable replacement for pennies on the dollar. Like I said, Christian Watson's the same type of receiver. They'll probably turn him into gold over there in Kansas City with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and all them, Eric Bieniemy and all them. But they're definitely going wide receiver in round 1. I can't see them not.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking with the 30th pick. They got to have the opportunity to go for a wide receiver at that with that selection. It was surprising. I guess not necessarily surprising to me that Tyreek Hill demanded a trade. I think it was more surprising for me that the Chiefs granted the trade. But when you look at the overhaul that they got in return, it's a no-brainer that the Chiefs, in my opinion, the Chiefs robbed the Dolphins for that amount of picks for Tyreek Hill. That's just my opinion on it.
I remember specifically this time last year when we talked about how the Chiefs asked Tyreek Hill to restructure his contract, and he said no, that you and I both said he was going to be out.
Yeah,
he wasn't going to make it through that contract. There's no way. That being said, yeah, I think Christian Watson could probably end up a Chief, to be honest with you. He's run the ball in college. He's done the jet sweep thing. He's a little bit raw of a talent, but like I said, at the same time, that's a gamble worth taking on if you're Andy Reid because he's such an electric player. Let's see. Who else could they pick? That would kind of fill the shoes of Tyreek Hill. I mean, Jahan Dotson's there. He's got great hands. Chiefs are going wide receiver, and whoever they go, they're just going to get somebody that's going to blow up. It's just crazy. I think Juju being there as well is actually going to be a great compliment to whoever they draft. I think Juju Smith-Schuster's flying under the radar.
If the Chiefs can move up somewhere into the 17 range, Treylon Burks will still probably be there.
Treylon Burks would probably be the ultimate thing for them because he's probably the closest thing that has that skill set to a Tyreek Hill, a Deebo Samuel. However,
Treylon Burks is a little bit bigger too, so he brings that aspect to the game as well.
Yeah, and he's got the speed for it. So there's so many wide receiver options. I think that's probably the main reason why the Chiefs did not hesitate. One, the cap space. They're into Patrick Mahomes' extension now, so they're paying him a lot more money, about a quarter of their salary. You got to free up space somewhere. And like we said, they just signed Travis Kelce to that deal, so he's not really going anywhere. And Tyreek Hill kind of wasn't being so much of a team player as you will, which I don't fault him for, but I think the writing was on the wall when he denied the fact that he was going to restructure his contract.
Yeah, I mean, he made the comment last year, and again, you and I discussed it, about how you guys agreed to pay me this money, you're going to pay me this money, I'm not restructuring my deal. And again, as you already pointed out, this time last year we were on talking about how he probably was only in the team for one more season, and lo and behold, just about a year later, we were 100% accurate with that.
Now, did I see him going to the Dolphins? No. Do the Dolphins have the fastest receiving core in the NFL now? Probably. Do they have a quarterback that fits that skill set? Absolutely not.
Yeah, Tua is outmatched by the speed on the outside now.
Now, that doesn't mean that these aren't guys that can't make stuff happen after the catch. We've seen it with Tyreek Hill. We saw it with Jalen Waddle. But you would like to have that deep ball aspect, and I think Tua's just missing it. You can't teach arm strength either, so it's a bit concerning. However, can Tua be successful? Sure, I think he can. He's got to stay healthy to do it. It's been his biggest problem so far.
All right, let's do one more third-round pick, and then we'll move on to the Phillies for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, this has taken longer than I thought it would already, but, I mean, draft season's upon us, baby. By the way, next weekend we have 2 fantasy drafts. Do you want to do our show for Saturday night as our fantasy draft, the Pee-wee?
7 p.m.?
Yeah, I think it's 7 p.m.
I will have to clear that with our tech advisor, but I believe that is a possibility.
Cool.
Yeah, I just have to clear it with the tech advisor.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll talk about it later, you know.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
No, we can do it again like we did last year. We'll have it on the screen. I'll put it on the side so you can see what's going on while Ryan and I discuss the draft picks that are going on. I like the idea. I love the idea. So, yeah, I think maybe we'll try and get that squared away.
Yeah. Now for the last, the 101 pick, I do think they go offense here, and it wouldn't shock me if they went running back. However, I got them taking a sneaky pick, somebody who exploded on the scene in college in 2018 and legitimately broke his back and hasn't been the same since. Justin Ross.
Okay, I don't have Justin Ross there.
I could see them taking a running back.
I also have a running back, which is why
I have a specific little brother in mind.
So you also have a specific little brother in mind?
I have a specific little brother from the University of Georgia.
Okay, so we're talking about the same kid.
Yeah, James Cook.
Exactly. So
little brother of Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, yes, James Cook is the running back, younger brother of Dalvin Cook, the running back, who I thought could possibly still be sitting there in late round 3, and I'd be very happy if the Philadelphia Eagles went and got him.
Now, I've seen Brian Robinson fall to that spot too, which is interesting because I feel like the Eagles could use either one of those. They bring entirely different skill sets to the table. Brian Robinson's a little bit more of a bruiser, a little bit bigger of a back, which is something that the Eagles are desperately missing. Kenny Gainwell, Boston Scott, and Miles Sanders are not by any means bruisers. All 3 of them are very similar in skill set, actually. Boston Scott's probably a little bit more of a pass catcher. However, I think their hesitancy to re-sign him in the offseason shows that they're, not exactly confident that he is the best option for them. So I could see them getting a James Cook, who is strictly going to be a third down receiving back in the NFL. He doesn't have the size or really the mechanics to be a 3-down back, but his receiving skill set, he mirrors, I don't know if you remember him from back in the Patriots early Super Bowl days, Kevin Falk.
Yeah, Kevin Falk.
When he was teamed up with Corey Dillon over there in the early 2000s. Yeah. To me, he mirrors Kevin Falk to a T.
Yeah, so we're on the same page there. Who did you have at 101, or are you also agreeing with Cook?
Justin Ross. I think they will go Justin Ross. I think that's a sneaky pick. I think he's got the upside of a first rounder. However, his injury in college really slowed him down, and it'll probably slow him down for life. But if they have confidence he falls into the later rounds, like the day 3 picks, maybe they go and get him there. But I think he could be a sneaky late 3rd round pick. In all honesty, if they don't go wide receiver at any point up to that point, I could see them going Justin Ross.
Okay. So you heard it here first when the Eagles do exactly what Ryan and I said. Remember and tell us and let us know how great we did.
They pick like 8 different players in 4 picks because that's what we talked about.
It'll be fine. We got it.
I mean, I'm sure one of us is bound to be right on one of those picks. And then we'll sit here for 2 years and talk about how we told you so.
Maybe like 1 year. I don't think we got to go 2 years.
No, I'm bringing up the Tyreek Hill thing next year too. Trust me, it'll happen.
Let's do it. Let's move on to the Phillies. As you can see, the background change for the Philadelphia Phillies. Abysmal start to the year. Well, not start because the first 2 games were kind of nice. You got 2 wins, but then you turn around and you go 2-8 in your following 10 games. They get a win yesterday, which was nice. The offense really exploded yesterday, which is nice. I have to question something very specific, and I think you're probably on the same page with me at this. At this point in the season, Alec Boehm is your best hitter. He's been the most consistent person in your lineup, maybe outside of Johan Camargo. Why is he not playing every day? Why is he seeing the field once every 4 days? Joe Girardi, what are you doing?
Okay, so Joe Girardi has a hot streak going right now of different lineups in a row. So I think he's on like game 9 or 10 of a different lineup out there. And truthfully, this is in order to get this offense going, I think there needs to be some sort of consistency. I get that you want to get Bryson Stott on the field. You want to get Johan Camargo some time, and that involves sitting your Alec Boehms, your Didi Gregorius, your whatever the case may be. However, at this point in time, Johan Camargo needs to be playing second base. Johan Camargo and Alec Boehm need to be the right side of the infield. I understand that that's going to be a huge hit. I know Girardi's a huge fan of Didi, and they're paying him a lot of money, so he probably won't sit the bench regularly. However, I think he needs to. And Alec Boehm, outside of one bad game defensively this year, been pretty solid. Now, he does have a history of being porous defensively, so that's probably more what it was tied to. However, this is a guy who's hitting over 300 for his career with runners in scoring position. And as somebody who is 24 years old and has been doing that since he was a rookie, that's really hard to find. That's a really hard skill to develop, and that's a really good piece to have, particularly when you're playing and not on the bench.
Let me point out something. As I already stated, Alec Boehm has missed more than half of their games. He has 7 RBIs. There are 2 Phillies who have more RBIs than Alec Boehm, and they have played all but 1 day each. They are Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper. They're the only 2 players in the team that have more RBIs than Alec Boehm. To Nick Castellanos' credit, he has the same amount, but again, played way more games. In my opinion, there's no reason Alec Boehm should not be in the lineup. To answer your question, old man, can Camargo play the outfield? I'm sure he's versatile enough to do it.
He can play the corner positions. I've seen him play the corner positions.
Or you're paying Castellanos and Schwarber to be in the lineup, so it won't be often.
Yeah. I mean, the Schwarber and Castellanos can do whatever the hell they want. Left field, right field's obviously Bryce Harper's when his elbow's fully healthy. Center field, you and I talked about it last week and the week before. Matt Vierling needs to get his shot. Matt Vierling finally looks like he's a little bit comfortable at the plate, which is good. He's a young kid. He's going to figure it out eventually. Ultimately, everybody's like, where's the offense? That's kind of been the big question. We made all kinds of signings. The offense hasn't been there. Let's explain how baseball works here for a second. When you have a shortened spring, particularly, or Castellanos' case, no spring, because he didn't play a single spring training game, didn't have a single at-bat. And you have shortened off seasons and you're not allowed to work out together, the hitting's always going to suffer first. The hitting's always going to take the longest to come around because, as we've talked about before, hitting is the hardest thing to do in sports, even for guys who've done it for years. So you think about guys like Mickey Moniak. Why did he take so long to come around? Because he's an outfielder, and it takes a little bit while to adjust to major league pitching, especially when you go most of the offseason without seeing any of it. And hitting is always going to be last to come around. So when you have an offseason entirely built on offensive acquisitions, it's going to take a little bit to get going. And it doesn't help that Girardi's playing mix and match with the lineup, but it's going to take a little bit for these guys to get moving.
Yeah, hopefully what we saw yesterday is a great.
Look at the majors across. Look at everything across baseball. Clayton Kershaw was throwing 7 perfect innings, 80 pitches. He's 34 years old, didn't pitch in postseason, didn't really pitch in spring training, and he dominated a Twins lineup with 13 strikeouts. The Mets rotation without Jacob deGrom has a 1.05 ERA. Like, collectively, yeah, you can point out your Garrett Coles who are struggling a little bit. Scherzer's ERA was a little inflated. Collectively across the league, pitching is just going to be better than hitting right now, and that's the truth of it. It'll take probably quite a few weeks for the hitting to catch up. But
yeah, I mean,
so anybody saying that the Phillies are in trouble, the Phillies are a bad team, you're an idiot.
Yeah, you're jumping the gun a little bit if you're calling the Phillies a bad team here. Like I said, yesterday they go out, they get 9 runs, they get home runs from Castellanos, Schwarber, who hit a moonshot into the upper deck in Colorado, and Alec Bohm.
If they're struggling in mid-May, then that's a problem.
And that's what I'm getting at. Also, I'd like to point out they started the season at 4-8 this year. Do you know 2 of the times in their history that they started out 4-8? They turned around and won the World Series in 2008 and 1980. So 4-8 is not an end-all be-all. So for those fans that are out there screaming that the Philadelphia Phillies are in trouble because they're 4-8 or 5-9 or whatever they are now, 5-8, it's very early. There are 162 games. Calm down.
The 2008 Phillies started out 4-6. The 2021 Braves started out 4-6, and the 2022 Phillies started out 4-6. Am I saying they're going to win the World Series and match those teams? No, but I'm saying that those 2 teams did go on to win a World Series. So 12 games into the season is way too early to make any kind of finger pointing or where their teams barely even play. They haven't even played 10% of the games yet.
Correct. Yeah, and that's basically what I wanted to touch on here on this podcast for those fans and the old man that we have this open text message group with that's always freaking out. Just wanted to tell you guys to calm down. The Phillies are going to be fine. They will compete. They will compete for the division. They will find a way to beat up on Max Scherzer at least once this season. They'll get it done. They'll be competitive. Calm down. It's still early. We're only 12 games into the year. And like I said, yesterday in Colorado against a team that had dominated them for 2 straight days, they came out.
People don't realize Colorado's like 9-3.
Colorado is 8-4 now with the Phillies loss. Yes. Colorado is a better team than we predicted at this point in time, and that has to go back to what you were just saying. People aren't hitting right now, so their ballpark is not a launching pad right this second, contrary to yesterday. But again, Phillies fans.
I mean, even the day before they hit, if you put up 5 runs in a game, you should win. Unfortunately, stuff like what happen's going to happen. Sir Anthony Dominguez isn't going to come out here and strike out 3 batters in a row every inning. He's going to give up some runs. Stuff happens. CJ Cron has been on fire.
Yeah, that too. CJ Cron has been on fire.
Even before the Phillies came to town. However, people just need to settle down. We win one series, we win another series, we get back to 500 by the end of April. Nobody's going to really bat an eye at it. I would take 500 by the end of April. I would have done that if you said that to me prior to the season starting.
Absolutely. 500 April ball is good. But yeah, that's all I've got. That's all I want to touch on.
Yeah, I just think people need to take a chill pill, relax, calm down. We get Colorado for a 4-game series next week, Monday through Thursday, I think. So
we get the Brewers tomorrow night, yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be a good series. Yeah, I just think people need to relax. The Phillies are fine. I think the only reason people are overreacting is because they did make such a big splash, and it's been so long since they've been competitive. Had this been 2009 and they came out 4-6, people wouldn't have really said nothing. No. But, because we just came off a World Series win. But I get why people are frustrated. Take a chill pill. Baseball's a long season. The Braves were under 500 at the All-Star game last year. They won a World Series after Acuna got hurt.
That's right. They lost one of their best players and still won a World Series. That's correct.
Yeah. So you can get contributions from anywhere. Anything can happen. It's such a long season, such a long game. Chill out.
All right. So I think that's going to – you got something else or are we good?
No, I'm good.
All right. That's going to do it for us here at BSing Sports. Thanks for joining us. Where, again, we do a little BSing. We talk a whole lot of sports. Again, join us hopefully next Saturday for our draft, our fantasy.
One of our many drafts. I have 4 drafts that weekend.
I'm in 3 of them with you, so I must have 3.
Yeah, I think you're in 3. I think Tim and I are in 2. Yeah, I have quite a few starting at weekend, so it's draft weekend all the way around.
Yeah. All right, so everybody have a great night and have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend, guys.